Hi, everybody. Today, our guests are two people that we are so excited to talk to and learn more about. Coming to Purdue from Sweden, this athlete is an under the radar recruit who received offers from schools like Purdue, Illinois, and Utah State. Coming in at 7 feet 2 inches, this Purdue basketball center will be providing a lot of future action both in the post and all across the floor. As most of you have probably already guessed, our guests today are none other than Will Berg and his father, Martin.
Thank you guys for having us.
Of
Thank
course,
you.
we're so excited for you
Yeah,
guys to join us today. We just want to
we're excited as well.
get started and um, right away and just ask you a few questions and just hear what you guys have to say and how you're enjoying your time at Purdue. Um,
Sounds good. Sounds good.
what is it like to be part of this team and watching this season unfold? And how exciting is it to know that next year you're going to be a big part of this team and making huge contributions on the court?
Um, to be honest, it's kind of undescribable. Nothing could have prepared me for, all of this. When I first arrived here this summer, I thought I was more prepared than I was. So first, that was a huge shock, just the level adjustment and the adjustment to America in general. And just being able to experience this historical season with all the guys and just seeing all the work that we put in and like the rewards that we're reaping and kind of makes everything you see the whole picture more, and I'm really happy to be able to experience it. Even though I'm not playing, I get the chance to practice against Zach every day and Trey as well, and just to experience everything. I'm super grateful and thankful for everything.
Awesome. I First of all, I feel like we probably should thank you for how much work you're putting in with Zach because he is obviously killing it out there, and there's a reason that's happening. So I'm sure you're giving him all kinds of stuff during practice. So thank you for that.
Thank you. It's
Um,
not all my credit. Zach is, as you could see last season as well, he was an incredible player. And just like I remember the first week when I got here compared to how Zach is today, he's just a different type of player, both like physically and mentally. The way he like locks in and everything is crazy.
Perfect. Well, I would like to kind of dive in a little bit about the recruiting process and like how you first heard from the recruiters and how they got to watch you and your visit at Purdue. Like, I'd love to hear about all of that.
Yeah. So being recruited as an international player is kind of different to all the recruits here in the state. Uh, like like with all recruits, the major thing you're kind of striving for is getting as much um, eyes on you as possible, as much exposure as possible as well. And one of the ways, at least for me, to get that was when I played with the Swedish national team. Uh, so 2 years ago, we went and won the Nordic Championship. I had a great tournament. Some scouts picked up my film and started like distributing it to coaches here in the States. And then we started to build a relationship off of that. Uh, Other than that, it's just been regular talking with the Purdue staff, just building a relationship, having meetings with them, sending as much game footage as I could back then, full game footage, not only highlights, so they could kind of see what I was doing bad as well during the games and not only the good parts. And the level is kind of different back home since everything is club based. It's not only like high school players, you're playing against older guys as well. So they got to see how I compared against more athletic guards, younger guards compared to the bigger, older guys in the league as well.
I can add the recruitment was a little bit extra hard because of the pandemic, because we couldn't go visiting and the coaches couldn't come to Sweden to look at the games. So the pandemic also made it more difficult.
Yeah, and my original plan was actually to come here during one of my summer breaks to play some AU as well, but sadly COVID messed that up. So
That makes sense. I mean, obviously COVID messed a lot of things up, but I didn't even think about that in like a recruiting aspect.
yeah, and especially not only with COVID, like I I was worried there for a while, especially with all the seniors getting a COVID year. Recruitment was kind of hard. You kind of had to fight a little more. I feel like to actually get serious looks from coaches, which already was hard because I was on the other side of the planet basically. So it was kind of difficult situation, but in the end it worked out.
But I actually think we're going to see more Swedish players now because they're starting to pop up. You have Will, you have Pelle Larsson at Arizona, you have Bobby Klintman, and a couple of others. So I
And
think
the girl scene is also booming as well. We have several players at high D1 schools as well. So Sweden is really a great country to look if you're looking for talent nowadays.
So the main question that I have for you, so being a redshirt player, I've seen that there's been like tweets that you've been working out separately from the team as well. Like I think that going to that gym outside of Indy, like what is your schedule like compared to everyone else? Because I remember reading a book from a college basketball player who was a walk-on who had said he compared, since he wasn't really playing, he compared practices to his game days and then game days to off days because he wasn't like expected to play. So how kind of does your schedule open up with being a redshirt this year and not seeing any action on game days?
So it has actually changed a lot. I had some issues with my hand in the beginning of the season, so I couldn't play there for a while. But now, since becoming fully healthy and everything, it has picked up a lot. But it's also very inconsistent. Some weeks, scout team barely does anything, and other weeks we're basically doing a little more than them because we're trying to make them as ready as possible for the games. My normal schedule, since I'm not playing and I'm not getting as many reps in practice, I do those extra workouts both outside of Purdue with Jordan Delks. He's an amazing dude, amazing trainer, even more amazing person. And then also with the GAs here at Purdue, Tommy Lewis and Jared Goldburn are both amazing trainers as well, which they also get to communicate with the coaching staff, so they know kind of what Coach Payne, Lusk, Coach B, and Terry want me to like develop and focus on. And as you said, it's a different being a redshirt and a walk-on. The great thing about Purdue is that our walk-ons are extremely good, and that opens up the opportunity to have game days of our own. So usually we play like 4-on-4 games before the games where we actually play. So if we're playing Indiana, when we're playing Indiana next weekend, we'll probably have a 4-on-4 red shirts and walk-ons and some GAs playing against each other to get that competitive reps in as well. But it's a lot up to yourself to kind of like put in the extra work so you're not just slacking on the side, since we're not doing as much. But we're also being killed in the gym, weightlifting. So Jason Cable he's great. I've never seen myself develop as fast as I've done this year and put on so much muscle and all that. So he's completely killing us, but in a good way.
Well, that's awesome. And I'm kind of hoping you can get us the hookup with that gym that you're working out in because it looks really freaking cool.
Yeah, it's actually guy that's ahead of like student basketball academics, Todd Foster. It's his Airbnb, so he has a barn. That's the videos. It's amazing. It's an amazing place, and it's filled out with Purdue memorabilia and like awesome stuff. It's really cool. Some pictures of Coach Paint when he was playing. So yeah.
That's awesome. Well, I would like to know how you chose Purdue over, I know Carrie mentioned you got an offer from Illinois, you had Utah State, and a couple other ones, but I just want to know how you ended up choosing Purdue.
So relationships are really important for me. Not only outside of basketball, but I feel like for a team to properly work, you need to almost be like a family. And I feel that, as you can see this year, we're like a family. We're playing as a team. Everybody has each other's back. And that's kind of what I was searching for when I was looking through schools. And especially during that period when I was talking to the different schools, Purdue kind of stuck out. And that's kind of what made me like them the most. Not only the amazing facilities and the amazing players, but the way that the team was built, like the team culture, the way the coaches communicated with the players during practices, and the way they communicated with me was just the thing that I feel that they do amazing.
And that's also what's great from a father's standpoint. It's the whole environment and as William said, the family feeling. I send my son across the world to play basketball in a new country, new culture, everything. But I feel very safe doing it with the Purdue staff and coaches and the team. They have welcomed him with open arms, and also the parents to the players. They've been totally amazing.
Yeah, and not only that, but also like team culture wise, like uh, I've always want. It's easy to be great when you surround yourself with people that are striving to be great as well, and just the amount of work the guys put in, and the amount of work that is expected of you just pushes you so much, and it's almost like the coaches have to tell the players to get out of the gym and not force them into it, which is great because then we end up feeding off each other and kind of just working our game as much as we can, and just pushing each other to be as good as of a basketball player as we can be.
That's great. We're obviously super excited that you picked Purdue and that it's been such a good fit for you and your family. So, Mr. Berg, you mentioned that you're sending him across the world, and that's obviously a huge deal as a parent. How has your family and how have you, Will, adjusted to being so far apart? Are you guys recording games? How often are you getting to come in and see Will? Like, how often do you guys get to keep in touch?
We speak almost every day, speak or chat. Thankfully, nowadays you have like FaceTime, so you can see each other. That wasn't the case when I was in his age. I've been here. I brought his sister in November. We went here for 2 weeks in the beginning of the season, watched 3 home games.
Oh.
Then I came for holidays during Christmas because he was just off 4 days, so we couldn't go back home. And then I'm here now. So I try to ease the Hamilton.
The longing for home, the homesickness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's of course it's tough, but I know it's as I said, it's a safe and a good environment, and he's doing what he loves, so it's great.
It also helps. Last year, the last 3 years of high school, I lived by myself in an apartment uh, where I went to my prep school. So I'm kind of used to living without that, but it's different being in the same country and being on the other side of the ocean. But both the Purdue staff the guys on the team and even parents have been huge good for me because they've just eased everything and has been there for me as much as I needed.
Okay.
And
So
I watched all of the games live. It's not perfect when there are 9 p.m. games on a work day the day after, but
I was
doesn't
gonna
matter.
say that probably makes some for some late nights / early mornings trying to make
Yes.
all that come into focus. But my next question then, kind of like a 2-part question for you, Will. So, so far being in America and at Purdue, what's been like your favorite thing you've experienced, and is kind of like a 180 of that? Like, what was your biggest culture shock moment, like coming to America and kind of when you coming to Purdue, like you're not coming to like what you like stereotypical see of the United States. It's more like Purdue just kind of like in the Midwest, in the middle of the country, not really a major metro area. Like, was there any like major culture shock thing that you had to deal with when you came?
So the best part that I experienced so far is like this sense of community surrounding the university. Back home in Sweden, since everything is all sports are more club based, or they're all club based, which kind of disconnects the community from it a little bit, at least compared to here. So just the amount of people you see wearing Purdue gear and the amount of people that just come up and say hi and like ask questions, or yeah, that was super cool to experience and still experiencing it. And just people reaching out on Instagram and wherever it is, like talking or saying, yeah, bringing up Purdue and stuff. It's incredible. And the most negative thing, I'm not really this. I don't really mind living outside of a city. I feel like there's not that much to do in Lafayette, which can both be good and bad. It kind of makes you focus on basketball and studying instead of going around the city and stuff. But also gives kind of like a small, not that it's small, but a little bit of a small town vibe where it's not chaotic or like crazy amounts of people or traffic. Feels a little bit less, erratic, more controlled, I guess. The biggest culture shock, though, I have to say, is the food and the amount of food that's being served.
You miss that.
Yeah, I do every single day. But after a while, I kind of find the spots that work for me and that I can like adapt it or change the courses to fit me more. A little bit less on the plate and maybe a little bit more green stuff on it as well. Less fried, that's for sure.
So you're saying you haven't quite gotten to the Zach level where you're taking down multiple rolls of sushi and a big steak and just being like, no, that's fine, just keep it coming, keep it coming.
Not yet, not yet. Hopefully one day.
Well, Audrey, do you got anything else? If you maybe noticed on your screen, our third co-host, her power went off at her house, so she
Yeah.
is currently vanished
Oh.
into the ether right now. So,
Um,
but Audrey,
Yeah, I mean, I guess my last question would be, the last couple of weeks you guys have faced some adversity as a team. And I mean, honestly, when you guys come out each game, it looks like you guys are there to play, obviously, and the leadership seems to be there. I just want to know kind of how the leadership has handled everything in the locker room and, keeping morale up for you guys.
Circling back to the family part, the great thing about the older guys on the team is that they always have everybody's back. Doesn't matter if you're a freshman, second year, everybody has each other's back, and we're always looking out for each other. And it's kind of you never want to face adversity, but it's impossible to go throughout this whole season without losing some games or having troubles within the team or in games or whatever. So adversity was expected for sure, and I feel that the way that we respond to adversity is the most important thing. And I felt like against Ohio State, it kind of showed that we're back on our feet and ready to start swinging again. And also, just like you said, or leadership, Morty and yeah, basically all of the guys, all of the older guys are all. I wouldn't say there's a distinct one leader since everybody's so like caring for each other. Really like a big family. Everybody helps each other, and like we have the older guys, Grandpa Dave, for example. He can set the example. He gives us advice with his like wisdom or whatever from all his years in college. But at the end of the day, everybody is helping everybody, and I feel that that would be a good thing in the end, since there's no one dude that can lead a team. It's the whole thing. So when one guy falls down, everybody picks him up instead of there just being one guy that's picking up the team over and over again.
I love to hear that. So that's awesome.
And so I think we got one last question for you. And so, so far in your limited college experience, what has been your favorite trip to a game outside of being in Mackey? Like, what's your favorite road trip been so far this year?
That's a hard question. I would probably say when we went to the Palace right in Philly, that was crazy cool. It was like the history behind the place, and I it felt pretty old when we were in there. The locker room was like so small, and it felt like a sauna. But it's like the atmosphere and like the crowd. Yeah, it was just crazy. Like I could almost say that all the away games have been memorable because the atmosphere in the Big Ten is just undescribable. Like the way the home team fans just go at our throat every single time. It's just crazy, but it's cool. It kind of, and it's nice because me experiencing it this year and kind of, I also work out in front of them on game days. When the team, we do our warm ups before the games, and after the warm ups are done, and we kind of sit, the rest of the guys sit down in the locker room. Me and Cam usually have a workout before the real warm up begins, and then we kind of get a taste of being in front of such a hostile crowd and doing stuff and like shooting the ball and getting heckled by the student section. So it's really cool and good to kind of get a little bit prepared for it, I guess.
Okay. I think that's a good spot to wrap up. So we want to thank Will and Martin Berg for joining the podcast, and for Audra and Carrie, I'm Rouse23, and we will talk to you next time.
Thank you.
Thank you.